on the session today. So as you can see on the screen, the main, so what I want to talk about mainly today is the basics of UI designing, because so most of, so in there's like always, there's like many materials available in the internet, uh, and there's also articles, research papers, videos available to like to know the specific stuff. But it is always important to have a good foundation to UI design. Everything you do, it is very good to have a like good foundation. So today my plan was like lay that foundation so you guys can grow it and learn other stuff with this foundation. So the main topic today I'm going to talk about is basics of UI designing, and also I'm going to touch some other advanced stuff like UX designing, and also you guys have sent me some emails regarding your GUIs, so which I appreciated. So I'm going to get some interfaces from that, and like to compare what other things you can do to improve that design with the concepts that we talk about here. So let's first look at who am I. So you guys may be wondering who this guy is and why he is doing a session. So as Professor Indika mentioned, I am currently working as a front-end developer and a UI UX designer at WSO2. And I started learning the UI UX designing way back in the second year, I think. So yeah, so I had to do some like self-learning and do some Coursera courses to like grasp the foundation. So I thought it'd be better for you guys to like get this foundation laid. And if you guys are interested in UI UX designing, then you can do some courses and like grow that into a career path itself. Because I would like to see some UI UX designers and front-end developers coming from CSC, because most of the CSC guys coming to the industry are back-end developers and machine learning guys. So there's a like niche, and there's a like market space available for front-end guys and UI UX designers coming from the CSC, because there's not a lot. So there's a chance for you guys in that sense as well. So I hope that introduction is quite enough. So let's go into the today's main discussion. So first of all, what do you think is a UI? So I would like to be an interactive session. So I would like to some of you guys to speak out. So what do you think is an interface? What do you think as a user interface is? Come on, guys, don't be shy, because there's no wrong answer here, because we are all learning. I don't know some of the stuff, so feel free to speak. So seems like nobody is like most of you guys try to answer. So let me give you the answer. So answer is like it is a mean which the user gets the information. So mainly most of the today's information is in the web or is in the internet. So there should be a way that a typical user to access those information easily. So what they do is they access that information through an interface. So what this UI designing means? UI designing means that we design this interface so that the user can easily access those information and get that information easily. So now in today's session, I will talk about like what are the important steps, important concepts that you need to follow when designing this UI user interface. So for an example, let's take Facebook or an Instagram, a social media app. So what is their main information? Their main information is the user stories, like the post that the people share. So those should be easily accessible to the users through their interface. So if they like hide it or like makes it difficult for the users to access it, their platform will not be popular as much. So just think. So when you log into your Instagram app, you will directly see your friend's feed, right? You can easily scroll down and see your friend's feed, and it will that's the first thing that comes up on your screen. So that's a very good example of like a good user interface designing and a user interface and what it does. So next, let's look at the design fundamentals I mentioned earlier. So there are, I took 7, that there are many design fundamentals, but I think these are the 7 most important stuff that you should know. So first of all is the color and contrast. Next, white spaces, visual hierarchy, simplicity, consistency, typography, and familiarity. So I will, let's talk about each of them separately now. So first of all, let's talk about color and contrast. So what is the main, so what do you see, what do you think when you look at this interface? Come on guys, I would like to this be an interactive session. So this is a weekend, so you guys are chilling. So I think Pawan, can you answer the question? So what do you feel when you see this interface?
It's not very clear. The text is not very clear, and it doesn't really suit the background color. The yellow text doesn't contrast with the background color.
Yes,
yeah.
Very good. So yeah, that's the main thing you see, right? So just go back to the first slide I explained, like the information should be easily accessible to the user. So in this interface, the main information for the user is this article. So that article should be easily accessible for the user to this be a good interface. But as Pawan mentioned, this is not like easily readable for the user. This is in a yellow text, and there's like a text on an image, and there's like few distractions coming here. I will talk about them in the later slides. So it's not like very good color and contrast in a site. So let's look at this. So this is a YouTube. I think most of you, I think all of you have seen this kind of an interface. This is a YouTube homepage. So in this homepage, what do you see compared to this one? Can some other guy answer? What do you feel when you go from this interface to this interface? Come on, guys. I would like to you guys to speak. So this is a weekend. I know some of you may be sleepy little bit, but so let's make this let's make this interactive to like get that sleepiness out of your system. So let's chat. I think
we can see the content more clearly. There's a great color contrast between the content and the background.
Yeah, good. Also, yeah, that's a good point. So when coming from this interface to this YouTube interface, that's the main difference you see. Also, if you can see here, let me like zoom in a little bit. The main YouTube videos are in like a darker background compared to this other like outer margin of the interface. So what they have done is they have separated the sections without drawing lines or stuff, like without drawing shapes. They have used the color and contrast to separate out the sections more clearly. So those are some like the things that you can also incorporate in your designs, like without having to like always draw shapes and lines and to do the separation. You can use the color and contrast of your system colors to show that difference in the sections. And when so there's a like UX law called law of common region, which means like the users tend to believe that the elements grouped together have like a common function. So you can achieve that as well. So in this section, these are like settings page or like the navigation stuff, right? So this is not a settings page, this is navigation stuff. So that navigation menu is like separated using this shape, color shades without using lines. So that's another thing you can do with color and contrast. With also the text. So here they have used this. So in this chip icon, you see that the text is more clear compared to that. And so in the YouTube, there's no like a text in an image. So those are the things that you can do to improve your interface as well. So next one, the next point I want to talk about is the white spaces. So another guy answer, like explain like what do you see when you see this interface? What do you feel?
Spaces are less between the items.
Yeah, the white spaces are less. So that's given. So what do you infer from that? So when you just imagine you go into this site, and what do you feel? What the first thing you will feel?
The details are higher in one interface, like
Okay.
too much details in one
Yes,
interface.
yes. So that's a good point. Too much information in one interface. So that's called the cognitive load. The cognitive load is a bit too much in this interface. So let's take for an example, 255 කොට්ටාව it's go from 255 go from කොට්ටාව to Galkisa, right? Yeah. Just imagine that bus in an evening. What do you feel when like all the guys are packed and some of are going in the food board? What do you feel? It's cluttered, right? It's like cluttered and there's like so many stuff happening and it's not easy to use. And like you will not feel like getting to that bus. So it's the same thing that's happening here. It's the same thing. Even in the bus, it will be much easier for you to access that bus if there's like not too many people in that and there's a seats available. You can sit down and enjoy your ride. But here also, it's the same thing like that. There's like too many stuff is happening here. And also there's another law called law of proximity, which means like the elements that are closer together appear, the users tend to feel like they have like common function. So that's I'd say the common region, but that means like you have like separate sections, but this is not there. We don't have separate sections. They are like closer together. So in this example, so deal of the day, and you will some may feel like the deal of the day may also apply for these stuff as well. And also just think, if you want to buy this cable for $4, and there's a good chance that an error will occur and user will click on this as well, because there's no room for error. And due to this, lot of errors, user errors can occur, and which will reduce the user experience overall. So let's take this. It's quite given, right? So this is much more readable compared to this because it has more white space and like less cognitive load for user to see. So there's like technical stuff. I will not go into detail. So there's like technical stuff like what are the spaces that you should do, what are that you should design with, but I will not go into that much detail. You guys can read it if you're interested. And I will also share a resources file which has some links that I might think you will find helpful if you want to pursue a UI UX career further. And also it will helpful for you guys to design your this project as well. So next one is the visual hierarchy. So this is also also an important point when designing a user interface. visual hierarchy means what the user should see first. So in this example, the Jane Smith is the thing that you see first. It's her name. But here, you're not clear. These have like same font, same, like I cannot remember the specific technical term. Same visual weight. Let's say that same visual weight. It is for this text. It's like Jane Smith, this website, the phone number, the email, all have same weight and the same, which means like the user will not see first what it's not clear for the user to what they should look at first. But here you will see that the name, that's the one thing that pops up first. So in an interface, when you're designing an interface, it's important to like highlight the stuff that you should feel like the user should see. So for an example, some of you guys are doing I think a ticket booking system for movies, theaters. So in that case, so when you go into a film, the first thing why a user comes into that that interface, for a movie interface, which means like the main purpose of that user is to buy a ticket, right? Buy a ticket for the movie. So that buy a ticket should be more prominent than other elements of that interface. So that book a ticket button should pop up easily compared to other elements. Okay, so next. So this is a very good example of using visual hierarchy properly. So this is the Netflix homepage. I don't know whether they have changed it after this one. So here, what you see is, you will see their main like options that they are given. They are giving unlimited movies, TV shows, and more. So that's the main thing that user will see first. So when you go into the Netflix site, you will see that with this Netflix has unlimited movies, TV series, and then what they see is the register. So then, okay, they have unlimited movies and TV shows, so I should register. And also for the like, recurring, so if the user has an account, there's also a sign-in option. So I will talk a little bit on how to place those elements as well. So, and they can easily get started, right? There's no other stuff. Like this is a very simple interface and very good example of using visual hierarchy properly. And see, like this text is not that important for the user, right? So they have like reduced the font size and like make it more visually appealing as well. Okay. Next. So next is the simplicity. So what do you feel when you see this interface?
All the content are packed in small space.
Yeah. So remember what I talked earlier in the white spaces section? In the white spaces section, I mentioned that the elements should be able to breathe. So that's like a term that we use. So elements should be able to breathe. They should have like space to express themselves. But here it is not. So and the so when and also like remember the visual hierarchy thing. So simplicity is like a combine of all those stuff. And remember the visual hierarchy thing. So the user, it's not clear for the user what to see first. Like there's like all the colorful things happening here. All the colorful stuff is there's like text here. There's not like a proper structure to the website. So it's not very clear for the user what to see. And this is not a simple to use. And most of the time when a user comes, they will not buy anything from this website because they will feel overwhelmed with the information that they will see. So next one. So I'm going to ask you a question with the stuff that we talked. So there's like a good there's a concept that is used here in this interface. This is the Google Home, Google search main page, and there's like a concept that's used here with the concept that we talked earlier. So what is that? Come on, you guys. I think it's very clear. So if you are not speaking, I will have to call out names. Okay. Okay. Udesh.
Coloring.
Yeah. Okay. Someone answered, I think.
Oh, coloring contrast.
Color and contrast is, yeah, that's there with the buttons, and also the logo that is popping out from this white screen. More, it's like a more vibrant color. That's good. What others? What else? What do you feel about that text field, the search field? What do you feel about that?
The first thing first see, hierarchy.
Yes, that's the first thing that user will see. And what is the effect that the Google has used to get that effect?
Make it like give it a shadow.
Yeah, very good. Very good. See, they have given a shadow for that element, so that element will pop out of the screen, and that's the first thing that they will see. So that's very good, Pradesh. Good answer. So see, those are some tips those are some like tricks that you can do to increase the visual hierarchy as well. Visual hierarchy of elements of your interface. So talking about simplicity, I think this is the best example of a simple website. So when you go to Google, you want to search something, right? It's a search engine, basically a search engine. So just go to yahoo.com, and what you will see, just you are online, right? Just go to yahoo.com and see what you're going to see. Just compare google.com and yahoo.com, and like, can someone answer, like, what do you feel about those two interfaces? Compare, just give me an answer, like thinking on why we are going for such websites. So those are search engines, right? So main thing the user will go into search engines is to search something. So just give me an answer, like having all those to combine and see what are good and bad things on yahoo.com compared to Google. Come on. So if like no one answered, I'm going to start calling names. Okay.
So I think yeah, Yahoo has like the main thing is Yahoo shows news in that, and most of the stories, like even though they say the stories are for us, I think for a first time user,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't use Yahoo. The stories are not relevant for me at all,
Yes.
and they seem very I don't feel like using the search engine at all. Like it's not very prominent. It's just at the top.
Yeah.
It's what they're mainly focusing is on the news, not the search engine.
Yeah. So if a user uses Yahoo as a search engine, it's not prominent, right, compared to Google. So if you go to google.com, the first thing you will see is this interface, and there's like some settings on top and nothing else. So you can just start searching. But here you will see the news and weather, the scoreboard. Some of those like sports scores are not even like I'm not interested in those things as well. So like there's a horoscope, like everything is there. Like so that's not a example for simple website. So see, making the user interface simple will make your user interface more friendly, and the user will have a good user experience as well. Okay, I hope you have got the idea of like simplicity and what it means and how to incorporate simplicity into your website, so into your project websites and apps. So the main thing you should consider is like only show the important stuff in the interface. Okay, then it will make your website our website simpler. And there's also a point that you should remember. There is like an inherent complexity for the project, and that complexity will not go away. There's a like inherent complexity that how much effort you have put it to make it simpler, it will not go away. So you have to consider that aspect as well. Okay, so what is a good example for that? I don't know whether you have used like a SaaS solution like a Google Cloud or an Azure site. So in those console, in those like the main page, they have to show those information in the menu items, and they have to do those complex stuff in the interface, because that's the complex nature of their product. But make sure to always, even though the product is complex, try to make sure that the user interface is try to keep it as simple as possible. And also remember what I previously mentioned, that there is also an inherent complexity that you cannot avoid. So you have to balance out those things and do not remove. So for the sake of simplicity, do not remove the important stuff, and also do not add other unnecessary information as well. Okay, so up to now, do you guys have any questions? So for based on the stuff that we talked. So recapping on what we talked about color and contrast, white spaces, visual hierarchy, and simplicity. So based on those stuff, do you guys have any questions or things to clarify? So let's move forward. Okay. The other important thing is the consistency. So I hope you guys have your smartphones with you. I would like to go to your WhatsApp and study the bottom bar of your WhatsApp and see and tell what you feel. What do you like? Tell what you feel from those icons in that bottom and how they have used those icons. So can some of you, so can one of you like tell what do you feel about those icons, and like, so what do you feel? What do you see in those icons?
Those are very simple and all those are same.
So what do you feel? What's your name?
Rafshan.
Rafshan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Rafshan. So from the example I have shown in the in this slide, and then what do you see? Then what you can tell?
well aligned and
Okay, cool. So when talking about, so that's good, Rafshan. So that's a good observation. So when talking about icons, so there's like there's like few types of icons. There's like sharp edges, rounded edges, filled. So this is an example of filled icon, and this is an example for not outlined icon. So in your app or your website, you should always try to make your icons and other stuff consistent. Okay, that's not only for your icons, that's for your other stuff as well. So for an example, let's say for your app you have a title, and in the next interface, if you have a title, you should use the same font size, font weight, and everything, which makes the user interface consistent. And so there is a law in UX which called law of similarity. So which tells that user tends to feel that the stuff that are look similar performs similar. So let's take this title example. So first, in an interface let's take a like hotel booking system, and there's a title called Book Now, and that's a title. And in the next page, so there's another interface called About Us, and the Book Now has like a, let's say, font weight of 700 and a font size of 24 pixels. And if the About Us title does not have that font weight and font size, it will not be perceived as the title, because the user cannot make the cannot make that inference properly, because the sizes and the text and the font weight is not similar. So as a designer, you should always try to make your project or your website or your app consistent as possible. There are some things or some tricks that you can do to make your app interesting. So what's the main downside of consistency is like it will not like have that like wow factor, or like sass, like the beauty that's like what do you feel like the energy, or like it will feel like bland. It will like feel like vanilla. If you want to make that chocolate, you can do some tricks. So there's a good example on the WhatsApp. So when you select an option on the bottom navigation bar, what will happen to the icon? Seems like nobody is using WhatsApp.
It gets deleted.
Yeah, it's getting filled. So that's like a small design decision that they have taken to make the design more interesting and like more user friendly as well. So it will give the user an indication that they have selected that, and like it at some like nice designing, like that wow factor using those simple stuff. And it will not break the consistency. It will not break the consistency because that field icon is only used for that specific scenario, for the selected option only. All the other places, they have used the outlined icon. Okay. So that's the main thing about consistency. So let's talk about the other thing, that's typography. I think Professor Indika is one who is doing the HCI module. I think in that module, he will also talk about this typography stuff as well. So currently there's like two types of font, mainly two types. There are like other types. So these are like main two groups, serif and sans serif. The serif means like you have these vertical the lines coming like they have like lines and stuff, but in the sans serif it is more direct. They do not have any lines coming out and everything. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. I hope you guys are using Medium to write articles. If not, like I strongly suggest you to write some articles in Medium, like from the stuff that you learn. Or I hope you guys have at least read a book. So try to remember what is the font type using these two. What is the font type that they have used in a like Medium or a book? So you guys also can like go to the Medium and see as well. Come on. Okay, so if no one is answering, then let's see. Minet Veerasinghe, can you tell what is the font type that you see in a book or a Medium article? Main font type. Is he online? Minet, hi. Are you online?
Can you repeat the question again?
Okay. So good morning.
Good morning.
So first, so my question was, in a Medium article or a book, what's the font type that they use?
Serif Botex.
Yeah, see, that's good. See that's the answer. Thank you, Minet.
Thank you.
Okay, so why they have used serif? Does one of you know why they have used serif in like a reading material or long text? Yeah, that's like a technical stuff. I just want to see like whether if you guys know that. So the thing is, like, you see that these lines, right? So these lines help your eye to like rest for a millisecond, or like a small amount of time that's not like easily calculated, and that will help you to read further. And without those direct fonts, direct, like, you don't have like, this is like very not friendly for your eye to read for a long time. So these are mainly used for like slide these presentations or your headings, small text. But for longer text, like an article or a newspaper or a book, you will see that this serif text, because these lines, and it is easier to read because of these lines. And you can like search and see like why these lines become, why this line is easier for the eye. I will not going to explain that. So if we are talk about it, we can talk about for a long time. And also this is, I think, covered in the HCI module, as I remember also. Okay, so these are some of the main font types that you can use. Also yeah, also one thing I want to mention. So there are some like uh, some websites that use this sans serif font for reading for long articles as well. So they're trying to break those barriers and do some like innovative things. But for starting purposes, but for like when you guys start designing, it is always good to use serif for long text, like a paragraph or like an article, and use sans serif for a heading or like a small text. Also, I remember one of your guys' projects was like to hotel booking system, and they have used they have they have used the serif font in a good way. So the serif font have that luxury feeling. So just go to some site, let's see, maybe Hilton, I think. Let's see if the Hilton has it. No. So if you like see some hotel sites, even the Hilton logo using serif, because it gives that luxury feeling and it's sort of associated with luxury. So if you are promoting some luxury stuff like watches or hotels, you can use that serif font using that association. So I will talk about why that association happens in the next section, which is the familiarity. So it's in the next section. Okay, so I hope that important point is clear as well. Also, something before going to familiarity, there's some important thing that I forget to mention in the color and contrast. So let's go back to color and contrast. So when you are using color and contrast, it is always important to know your context. Okay, for an example, I think one of your project is on postal website designing and like parcel delivery and that kind of a system. So they have used red, because of that our postal logo is like currently based on red. So that's okay. What I'm saying is in some countries and some nations associate red with danger. So, and when you are using red more prominently in your site, those users from those countries can feel your website is not user friendly and like more like dangerous activities than like postal delivery system. So always when designing, know who you are designing for. So that's a very good. That's an important thing. So there's like an experiment done by I think Professor Zimbardo in late 1900s. I cannot remember 1980s or 90s. It's called the Stanford Prison Experiment. There's a movie also released in 2015. That's a good experiment and good movie. So I recommend you guys to watch that. And so what that experiment does is, so Professor Zimbardo takes like random peoples that like he posted in a news article mentioning that there's an experiment in the Stanford University, and you will get this amount of like stipend for that participating in this experiment. And from the joinees, he divided those joinees randomly into two groups: a prisoners and a police officers. So what that happened is he put them in like a prison-like environment to see how they behave. To make the experiment even more realistic, he even arranged like mock arrest for the prisoners as well. So they were arrested from their homes and they were bring to that Stanford University for that environment to make that experiment even more realistic. What happened next is like for the first 2 days, the police officers were joking and stuff, like the prisoners were joking and talking friendly. But like after the 2 days, the police officers started using that authority on those prisoners uh, and like started to bully them and do some push-ups and like nasty stuff. If you guys interested, you guys can read on what happened. Like some prisoners even got nervous breakdowns as well. So the important thing is why that happened. According to Professor Zimbardo, why that happened is that because of the context. The context reward those cruelty and like bad things, And the police officer started to doing that bad thing because of the environment that they are in. They promoted that stuff. So that's like a big example for using explaining the importance of the context that you are designing. So the main thing as a designer that you should know is it's always good to do your research first on what are the countries that you are going to implement this website, and what are the like good and bad things, and what are the colors that are good or bad, and everything. If not, some very bad things can occur. Okay. So I also recommend that watch that movie. It's a very interesting movie, and it will explain some like dark side of humans and what the human is capable of. So I think the topic went like little sideways. So let's get back to the topic of UI designing. Okay, so where were we? We were talking about consistency. We talk about typography. So these are 5 types fonts that you guys can use. So these are the most used font, and in the Google they use Roberto. So I think you guys can search for fonts in the fonts.google.com. I have also added that into the resource file. So there's like thousands of free fonts you guys can use in your website. And always remember, when you are starting design, since you are like started doing UI designing, try to adhere to that practice. Use sans serif for headers and serif for long text, and the serif is also associated with luxury, and like sans serif like associated with the boldness, like the power, that kind of thing. So when you're like using, and if you go buy an energy drink, you don't see the serif font. You always see the sans serif font. Even the Red Bull, that Kist Rider, they are always using the sans serif font, because that a sans serif font project power, authority. So that's kind of thing. So there's like an association with those fonts. So use those stuff wisely as well in your design. So next important thing, I think this is the most important thing that you should know when you're designing. That's the familiarity. So I have put a picture of twins to like mention that these are familiar. So let's see. So this is a website of Slack and a Google chat. So I think your Google account also, you guys can use the Google chat. So these are like, so mainly that what these type of chat applications are mainly used for enterprises to do their project stuff and to handle the project, like handle discussions online. So I want you guys to thoroughly look at this and see the similar things that you are seeing. So I will like zoom in a little bit. Yeah, what you see and what are the similar things that you see in both of these interfaces. Come on, anyone?
Message box.
Sorry?
Message box.
Message box. And what do you...
And the icons
yeah, and so
of people in the chat.
Okay, so what you can say about the placement of those icons and the message box?
Those are all in left side.
Yeah, the icons are on the left side and the message box is always at the bottom, right?
Yes.
Yes. And any other volunteers to speak? So there's like some other familiar, other similar things going on this interface. Anyone? So how about Sitika, right? Hi, Sitika.
Yeah.
Uh,
It shows the profile picture and name, the body of
okay.
chat messages in the body of.
Okay. The all the, in the both those interfaces, the all that information is present.
Hmm.
What about the time of a message? What do you feel? So of that of
Shows the right side of the person's name.
yeah. If you like see the Google Chat and the Slack is like almost similar, right? There's like small design stuff that they in the Slack it uses like a square box. In a Google Chat it uses a circle for the user icon. But all the other things, the name, the the date, see a thread. I think even Slack you guys can react using emojis to the. I think for the core functions, the core functionality of the use of these applications they have designed in a similar way. Why is that? Because in today's world, almost all of the users have access to internet and they have used online sites and they are somehow familiar with the internet and how the user interface should look like. So for an example, when you're designing, let's say, okay, let's take that movie booking example. When you're designing a movie booking website, the user tends to think that your website will like work similar in a sense like Scope Cinema or a LK Book My Show or some other movie booking website. They will they will like to see they will like to see the components in a similar kind of way. And this is what they in the so this is like a new user interface designing of the Google Chat. Like they had a like a different one. They had like different like using boxes and stuff. They have like moved away from the designing and have come to this one because most of the stuff, most of the other like similar kind of enterprise chats like Slack or Discord, every like major enterprise chats, even I think Microsoft Teams, I think they have a chat, I think I can remember correctly. They are always using this kind of a design, and the Google had to come to that design. From that they are over designed. So I have written an article, so you guys can see you guys can like go and see in my Medium. So I have written an extensive article on why they have changed this design, this Google designing to this one from their previous designing. Okay, so the important thing that you guys should consider, you guys should know when you are designing your projects, is that always try to get examples, try to get examples. So what, as a designer, what we call is a mood board. The mood, try to capture mood like websites that are doing similar stuff to your website. So for an example, in the movie booking, if you're designing a movie booking website, you guys can like take a screenshot and create like a big canvas of like a Scope or like LK Book My Show and other Ticketmaster, and like get an example, go and see and see how they behave, and like take components, take the element placements from them. Because that's because of this association, because the users are more users like tend to users have tendency to believe that your website will work similar to those websites as well, because they have used those websites. And that's the thing of that I previously mentioned with this association. So in the early times, the hotels and these luxury items were printed in these serif fonts. And then there's an association that were done, that were like happened in the user's mind, that the serif font is associated with these luxury items. And that's why they have used that trend is currently ongoing. And even in the sans serif, the sans serif is kind of associated with power, authority, boldness, and I think that's coming from these energy drinks and those kind of stuff. Then they have associated with that. So do not try to break the norm, but there may be places that you will have to break the norm, but try to adhere to the norm and design, and it will make your designing more pleasing for the user. So that's the main thing in the designing aspect that I wanted to cover. So next I'm going to talk about UX designing and a little bit about UX designing and the process that you guys can follow to achieve your on a designing UI designing process that you guys can follow. That actually the industry follows the steps of the UI designing, UI UX designing. So up to now, so a section of a presentation is over. So up to now, do you guys have any questions based on the concepts that we talked about? Seems like nobody have any questions. So let's see what the next slide is. So next slide is the tools that you guys can use to design your user interface. I think most of you guys, I think some of you guys are familiar with the tool Figma, because some of you guys have sent me like Figma links, Figma prototype links, and the Figma files. So that's good. It tells that you guys are like exploring the stuff, exploring the tools that are widely used in the industry. So it is like always good to have like some kind of an experience on these tools, even you are more prominent to prominent to other streams like machine learning and backend. But it's always good to have like some experience in this design aspect as well. So Figma is a free tool that you guys can use to design. And also another more widely used tool is the XD. This is from the Adobe suite. So this is an XD, but this is a paid version. This is like a paid one. So also you guys can try out. I'm not going to tell how you guys can download and try this stuff. So I hope, I know you guys all know. So try to use this stuff and see like how to navigate. And also I have added some tutorial links on, if you guys more interested on how to use these tools. So this is Sketch. I think this is only for Mac OS. And CSS. So CSS is mainly used for the development purposes of this designing. And now also you guys, so there's like millions of libraries available. Without, you guys do not have like implement them from scratch. You guys can use the libraries as well when designing, when like implementing your UI design. Okay, any question of the tools or like stuff, questions that you had when you were using the tool, when you using these tools? No. Okay, then I will move on. So so I have allocated like some amount of time for the questions, so you guys then can ask questions then as well. So next I'm going to slightly touch on what UX designing is. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about extensively on what UX designing and how you guys can do it, but I'm going to slightly touch it. So what do you guys think of this image? What do you guys think of these two products? This is a sauce bottle with a glass sauce bottle, and this is a plastic sauce bottle. What do you guys think? What do you guys feel when using those things? These two sauce bottles.
The left one is easier to use.
Left one is easier to use. Yeah. Left one is easier to use. Come to the right one, right?
Yeah. And the right one is more fragile.
Right one is more fragile. Ah, good. See? So that is basically what user experience designing is. User experience is designing is a process of designing users' experience when using your product. That can be applied to even a source bottle as well. So that's called product designing. So that's like a wider topic. So product designing applies for everything, even like these bottles, even cars, like all those things. So when let's come back to UX designing. So that's like main thing. So what UI designing does is UI designer mainly thinks okay, we have sauce, we can put sauce in this glass bottle, and like we can add some stickers to see what to tell what our brand is, so what is the weight or the ingredients. But when user using the product, it will be not user friendly compared to this one. So then the Heinz have designed this plastic bottle, which is easier to pour and also easier to use because it's not fragile and the sauce is coming out easily. So that's a very good example of what user experience designing is. So user experience designing is like not, so basically what user interface designing is like to design the colors. See what I mentioned earlier, design the colors, contrast, the icons and all those things. What user experience does designing is designing the user flow. So designing how many interfaces that we need. What are the information that each interface needs? So that's user experience design. User experience design is mainly done using wireframes or information architecture. So I hope you guys know what wireframes are. So wireframes, so for for the guys who don't just know what wireframe is like a sketch of your website or an app, and you can use a paper or some tools like even Figma. You can use do wireframes as Excalibur, as Miro, Lucid Chart. There's like a lot of tools you guys can use to do wireframes, but I personally prefer first use pen and paper and do a wireframe in that, and then move that wireframe to a tool. And so then you can, in a pen and paper, it is very easy to do the wireframes and you can easily throw out if you don't like it. But it's much difficult to navigate, much difficult to place elements in a tool. So that's called user experience designing in a broad sense. Okay, that's an umbrella term. There's other stuff going on in the UX designing. Okay. So I think we have time. So let's move into one of the things that I would like you guys to think. Okay. Best interface is no interface. What do you guys feel when you hear this sentence? Best interface is no interface. Can one of you guys answer? What do you What do you feel? Anyone? Yeah.
I feel like it's sort of the less is more kind of thing.
Less is more kind of thing. Yes.
And
yes.
where the interaction part is less. So
Hmm.
like most of the things are done by the computer.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Sort
it.
of
That's
like for example, like the new voice, the ChatGPT 4 model, like it has this voice
Yeah.
to text translation, and so
Yeah. Good.
basically it helps to reduce the typing and
Good. Good. So that's very good answer. So there's a book also called like best interface is no interface. So I will come to that later. So what Pawan mentioned is correct. So that's like the essence of it. So even the less is more. So what that book actually mentioned is that you guys designers should design your products to work with no interface at all. So there's a good example in that book which mentioned that. So currently with those technology, you guys, BMW has implemented an app to open your garage door and like to then access your car. So just like imagine a real person getting up in the morning and like getting up and getting ready and working, getting ready to like go to work, and he's late. And like imagine that situation, and imagine when you go walk inside in front of your garage door and had to open it with a one hand. He has a briefcase, and maybe also a child is screaming like, a father, I'm going to be late for school. And then he have to like pick up the phone and open the app and then open the garage door and then access the car. Imagine that kind of a situation. See, what it mentioned is that we do not need an app or an interface for everything. We can make some mundane tasks intuitive and easy to use. So in an exam in the book, it's mentioned that there's an Benz has designed a technology. If you have your car key in your pocket, the garage door will automatically open when you come close near some kind of proximity. See, that's intuitive, right? So in that, imagine that practical situation, and then that person can directly, he has the car keys in his pocket, and imagine directly walk into the garage door, and garage door opens, and they will walk into the car and drive. So that's what mentioned. Best interface is no interface. That's a good example of user experience designing as well. So user interface designing, they can like the designer can like add buttons and design that BMW like door opening app. They can like do beautiful things and everything. They can follow all those concepts that I mentioned earlier. But is that like intuitive to use in a practical scenario? So that's what user experience designing is. In the user experience designing, that Ben's example, that's quite intuitive, right? So that there's no interface, but that's designing for user experience. So that's a good so I just want you guys to think. So think that, so when you're designing your product, I know that will not be, it will be difficult for you guys to like from the big like do that for the first fun, but try to incorporate that principle, the best interface is no interface principle, to your project as well. You guys can do some intuitive thing like mundane tasks like handling it with the computer itself. So try to incorporate this principle to your project as well. Also, the book what mentioned earlier is mentioned directly as the best interface is no interface. I think it's Golden Krishna. I think. Let me search. Yeah, Golden Krishna. So you guys can like try to if you guys have time, read that book. That's a good book if you are interested in following a user UI UX career path or front end development career path. So I think so. You guys have any questions about that? So that's like one of so that's one of like important, like kind of an interesting fact that. So you guys have anything to clarify or any points you guys want to express of this? So guys, let's try to make this like interactive. So you guys want to discuss anything, like express your points on this one, because I like to talk about this topic. No? Okay. So I hope you guys are clear then. So
I have a question
yeah.
So most of the systems that we are building are more like SaaS oriented. But like we can include like best interface. I'm not sure how we can include this concept to those kind of applications.
Okay.
Like other like we have thought that we could include AI like text LLMs like but other than that, what are the options that we can
Okay.
do?
Paul, can you tell your project? So what is the project that you're doing?
We are doing a research data collector platform.
Research data collector. Can you like explain a bit more?
Yeah, so it's very similar to Google Forms, but it's more, it has a more of an organizational context so that projects can be managed in a more structured way. And it has a more options than Google Forms, I'd say, like in terms of collecting data, using a local first approach, using mobile devices.
Okay.
As well.
Okay. So what you guys, so in a broader sense, what you guys can do is like, you can also use what you mentioned earlier, less is more. So in a form, I will like, I have some examples like pointed out, like put it in the next slides as well. In a form, like do not try to show everything in the form. So that's a thing that you guys can do. So when you're designing your form, you guys can like group stuff, right? So for a research, you like, if you're doing like a research thing, you guys can like first in the first group, you guys can ask the users the name and some description, and then in the next page, you guys can like group them. Yeah, so you guys have seen, right? There are some design of forms like the steppers in the first details, and the next the research and next the finished. So you guys can like use that designing with the less is more approach. So then what will happen is that the user will feel like, oh, we don't like need to feel like it got lot of stuff. So you guys can like do that kind of an approach as well. So I know it's not like easy to incorporate this principle directly in some projects. So that's what I mentioned earlier. So there's an inherent complexity for some projects. That complexity will not be going away even if you like try to do a lot of things to make your project simple. So there's that. But like in some cases, for an example, even in like error handling stuff, you guys can like do it in the first go without having the user to submit it to show the errors. So for an example, let's say there's two fields that need to be filled, and if the user goes to the third field without filling the first two fields, and you guys can show an error. Okay, you need to fill those fields without having the user to press submit, and then the user will see the errors. So those are like little things that you guys can do to improve the user experience using this best interface is no interface. So the main core thing that you need to know is the less is more, and then make your product more intuitive to use. Just put your shoes in the user's and put your shoes in the user's shoes and see how they will use your product. So you guys are using the websites, right? Use websites and apps, and you guys see the some frustrations that you feel. So try to avoid those frustrations in your project. So that's like the first step to this, like a larger point of view. Okay. Pawan, I hope I answered the question.
Yeah.
Okay. So does anyone else have anything else? No. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's I think move on. So next I have arranged some so before going to examples, so this is the steps that basically the industry follows when designing, when UI UX designing. First of all, what we do is we define the problem. Okay, so most of so let's take a project-based company, and a project is given to them. So what the team first does is they will get together and define the problem that the project supposed to fix. So for an example, let's take one of your, like what I mentioned earlier, a movie booking website. So they will define the problem and the things that this website should have, and then they will do a research. The research can be done in an interview. If you're designing for a company, we can interview the employees in that company and see what they want. And there's a lot of like research stuff that you can do. And then comes the analysis and planning. So this is the step where we draw the information architecture that I mentioned earlier. So I forgot to mention what information architecture is. So information architecture is basically a diagram mentioning the structure of the website. So it's like basically a tree diagram mentioning the structure. So for an example, if you take, if you have like in the home page, if you have links to about us, contact us, and then the book. So in the information architecture diagram, it will have like a home node, and in the home node, you will have contact us, about us, and in the book. So in the book side, in the book interface, then you will have other links. So it is basically a navigation tree, and also you can use the navigation tree to add some information on that, what this information does. So having that will also help to like get the number of interfaces that we need. And always, and also you guys, and we can show those diagrams, this information architectures and the wireframes to the stakeholders and get their feedback as well. So without directly going into the designing, without directly touching Figma on these colors and stuff, so that's more costly because that takes time. The time means money, so that spending time on that without having a proper structure will be a costly thing, and it will also damage the reputation of your company if the design does not work out at the first time. So then before that, then we can like use the information architecture, the wireframes, and show them to the stakeholders and get their information, and then change the wireframe, which is less costly compared to with the design. And then we can take the designing and we can add colors and like do the stuff that I mentioned earlier. And that's the designing phase. The prototyping is like having actions, doing like animations, actions to your website. So let's take for an example, if you guys have form and you have the submit button, right? And in the submit button, the next interface is the congratulations, you have booked the movie and the tickets will be emailed. So the prototyping is adding that animation from that submit form, the submit button to that congratulation interface. So that's the prototyping part. So that is quite that's quite difficult compared to the designing, because you guys need to think about animation, the time duration of that animation, and everything. So the next one is the testing. Testing, what this is, so we get some users from the stakeholders, and like, so for, as I mentioned, if we are designing for a company, we can take some set of users, employees from that company, and try to test the product with the prototype and get their feedback, and then we can iterate this path. We can iterate these things and we can change it, and we will launch the product. And also after that launching, we will continually to improve the designing and iterate. Do you guys have any questions regarding the steps as I is mentioned here? Seems like no. So if not, let's look at some examples that you guys sent, so that we can like discuss on how to improve that design. So this is not an thing that you guys sent. So this is what I add first, you guys, to see. You guys need to like see and what are the points to improve this interface. So can anyone say some points to improve this interface? Yeah. So anyone? So MAR Moraias. I don't know your first name. So is it Moraias your last name? Is it Moraias? Right? It's Moraias, right? Yeah. So Mr. Moraias, are you there? Maybe not. Okay. So okay. So then then let's discuss. In the time is also going. We only have like half an hour left. So the main point is like, we can make this site much simpler as well. Okay, site simpler because the background is green, and the colors, some text are not quite visible. So which is the point of the colors and color and contrast. And also when talking about the familiarity, so when you go into like index page links, this is very similar to something like a Google site, right? So it has kind of a links when you search something. So this is like a search engine for like art stuff, right? So that should be quite similar. So the Roger art site should be similar to that one, having those design aspect. So those are the things. And there's like too many distractions going on here. This art is red. So you guys, there's no visual hierarchy on what they should see first, because this red pops out first, and there's a title, big header, 207, there's a link, there's all those things happening. So that's the things that we can do to improve this design. So now let's look at some of your designs. Okay. So this is one of you guys' projects. So whose project is this? This movie booking website? Is Sitika, your guys' project, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So based on the stuff that we discussed, what you can do to improve this. So like kind of at this level. Yeah. So what, Siti, what do you feel like you guys can do to improve this website design based on the stuff that we discussed?
Actually, I haven't a clear idea about that.
Okay. Okay, cool. So it's okay. It's okay. That's not an issue. So I think I mentioned this in this earlier as well. So the main, so you need to think what the user will do when they come into this interface, right? So that's what we are doing in this research part. In this research and analysis part, we are trying to think with the user's point of view, see what they will do when they come into a specific interface. So for that, to achieve that, we can do user stories or use case diagrams. I think you guys are drawing use case diagrams, and also use like a flow diagram to see the steps of the user journey. So all those stuff we can use, I think. So to achieve that, so let's take this for an example. So in this example, so the main purpose of this interface, I think, is to book a ticket to watch this movie, right?
Yeah.
So do you think this achieves that?
No, I think button is not clearly visible.
Yes. Yes. See, so those are the small things that you can do to improve the user experience and user design, your user interface. See, that we can like make this book ticket more prominent. Also, when adding text in an image, always try to use a gradient on top of that. Okay, so try to go to see some like scope movies or something. So they have add a gradient on top of this and then add the image. So and add the text. That will make the text more easy to read. So that's the color and contrast point that we discussed earlier. Also, when talking about visual hierarchy, Sitika, so yeah, visual hierarchy is good compared. Visual hierarchy is good because you will see the user will see the first is inception first. The point I need to tell you is to like improve your design is to like do not use the bold text like the font weight. I think this is similar font weight. Do not use that font weight. Try to vary that font weight with the subheadings. Then it will make the title like more prominent for the user. And also like when also try to utilize this white spaces more white spaces, because this white space is like kind of wasted, right? You can easily shift these to like this Christopher Nolan and this Keanu Reeves to this side, and you guys can utilize this space and it will look much cleaner because this white space is like left out. Too much white space is also not good. Okay, also like in this section, the release date, directed by and written by, what do you feel comparing talking about visual hierarchy?
Those are in same font size.
Yeah, those are in same font size, so that should not be in the same font size. So basically you can like your team can take a decision on whether to bold the release date or this information. Basically I prefer to bold the information because that's the information the user want to see, right? This is okay. So in here also you can see what I mentioned earlier about the familiarity that I mentioned earlier. So most of the reviews are done in like a bottom kind of a thing. The text is in the bottom And then the users, these reviews are like kind of an scrolling view, right? Try to incorporate that as well. So this is kind of a good, try to like add more white spaces, because it's not like this section looked bit cluttered. Other than that, good job. So try to incorporate these points as well. So next, is this image broken? Yes. Give me a minute, I think. So let me use my other monitor. Uh, sure. Cool. So let's see. This video and yeah. No, I think okay. Is it? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So let's see. So this is, I think, from the hotel booking site I mentioned earlier. Whose project is this? Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about this one. So hotel booking site I mentioned earlier. Whose project is this? Whose team?
Yeah, it's our project.
Hi, Ashay. So see, you guys have used this font text for the luxury association with this serif font. I think that's good. Also, in here, try to add that gradient I mentioned earlier. Like when you're adding images on top of text, sorry, text in top of images, try to add a gradient to add that color and contrast and make the text more readable. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And also, do you remember what I mentioned earlier about that law of similarity? Did I mention some law for law of similarity? So if not, the law of similarity means like the stuff that looks similar preserved to do a similar function. Okay. So here you have used this kind of a button everywhere, right? Book now, the explore, add a review have the same visual weight. So let's put the user's shoes here. And Ashain, what does the user need to do when they come into this site?
Users need to add a booking for the room.
At the booking first, right? So the book now should be the prominent button. So when designing buttons in a website, in a project, you guys can use 3 buttons, like a primary, secondary, and tertiary buttons. The primary button is the field one, and it's used for primary actions like the book now, register, sign in, all those things. And the secondary button is like most of the design systems have this outline button. So you can use that outline button to this one. And also add a review button, you can use it as a ternary button. You can use it as a text button. Okay. I think that will like makes the user interface like more user friendly and will help to achieve your goal as well. So that can be also done to this one here. So these are these buttons or this text here. This LKR 15,000.
It's a text.
It's a text, right?
Yeah.
So you should not use text in like a button kind of interface. So what I mentioned, remember what I mentioned, a law of similarity. The items that look similar preserved to have similar functions. So you can add this as a subtext, subheading, right?
Okay.
Other than that, design looks much clean and good. Also, if this is a chat bot, you can add that robo icon if needed. Yeah. When talking about this form, then this is also your project, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when talking about this form, you can use that concept that I mentioned earlier called familiarity, right? So most of the forms today have kind of an placeholder, right?
Okay. We'll
You
use
know what a
this.
placeholder is, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when
yeah.
you can add that placeholder to like to express what is the information that you need for an that's so it is needed for this contact number. So this hotel booking systems, uh, foreigners can also access this, right? And they have different numbers, different number formats. Okay, then you can add that like plus icon XX and the numbers to like basically the placeholder is used for to show the what is it used to give the example of the value that is needed, and it will help the user to reduce user errors. Okay.
Okay.
Also try to add these to this kind of an format as well, because see, this is like 3 days is not visible, right?
Yeah.
3 days is not visible compared to the color and contrast is not good in the 3 days. This rooms field, I'm not sure why you guys have added that.
Yeah, there are different rooms in this hotel. Means the user have to and the room type first, and there is an approach menu.
Okay.
Then
The
you
room.
can add the quantity of rooms.
Okay. The rooms. This is kind of a table, right? With like adding rooms and stuff. Is it?
We need to the user can add only one type for one booking, one room type.
One room. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. He can add one room type, and at that type he can add more quantity, and the user needs more rooms. He can more room types. The user have to add more bookings.
Okay. Cool. That's okay. That's okay. So in these rooms, then this text, this two text is like it's not in need. This rooms text is not needed, right?
Yeah.
This rooms text is not needed. So when even you explain, you see that this rooms text is not needed. And also try to make this a drop down. So when you book a hotel from like a site, like maybe Hilton or Shangri-La, there is like in the room type, there is a drop down to see what are the rooms that the user can select, because the users coming into your site do not know the room types, right? And it is not good to assume that the user knows your room types in the hotel. So add a drop down and let the user see from the options that they can select. Okay.
Okay.
And also like when you design it, this like price LKR, the formatting, I think can be improved little. It can be improved. So try to see what are other websites, what are other website designs looks like. That's the main thing. That's the main thing when you design it. Try to see what are the other similar website and their designs. And they are a good place to get those inspirations. There's a Dribble, Behance. I have added some of the links in the resource files that I will send you guys after the session is over. So that I think the formatting can be improved. Try to see what other websites have done and try to incorporate that into your design. So good job. So see next. Is this your one also?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So that's So I add this example to talk about another important thing. So have you guys heard about design systems? No, I think you guys have not. So let's assume, so the design system, so this luxury restaurant, these both are in a similar products, right? You are similar brand and it has, those are not like two different products, but they send the same project, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then what I feel is that the design should look similar. I know this, then the implement, I know this, it may not be feasible for you guys to do it right now because of the time, but when like in other projects, in later projects, if you guys are designing like 2 apps or 2 websites in the same project, try to make the components similar. To achieve that, you can use a design system. A design system is basically a set of collection of components that you are going to use in the projects. So that's the first thing that you should design when you're designing the projects. And there's an also like design system that you can use. There's an from the material from the Google. So when you look at the Google projects, Google stuff, the Drive, email, Gmail, and there's a Google Chat, calendar, everything has the same button. The title have same headings, same font sizes. So how they have achieved is that using a design system. So when you are doing that, try to first build the design system first. Like design system is like the reusable components. These chips, buttons, let's say toggles, those things, the text fields. Try to design them first, or you can like directly get those text fields for all those components from those open source design systems as well. Okay, I have added some links in the resources file. You guys can like learn more about design systems. So design system is a practice that is used in the industry to make the product consistent. So even in the WSO2, we have like few products, and we are using the design system called Oxygen, and it's open source. You guys can use it, and all the products are using that design system, so our products look similar, right? The colors and all the other stuff can be changed, but the the font sizes, the buttons, those look similar. Cool. I hope you guys get an understanding on what the design system is. So that's the point I want to mention from this side. So Ashen, I hope I give you guys some feedback on to how to improve your design. Do you guys have any questions? Yes? Other questions, Ashen?
No, yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. Is it the same project?
Yes, yeah, but same project, different application.
Different. So remember the thing I mentioned earlier. Try to. I know it's not like feasible now, but for other projects, try to use the design system. And also, another important thing I want to talk about is the simplicity. Right? In the booking details, try to group them. This customer information, the phone number, NIC number, email, those can be grouped together and add a subheading based customer detail and add them first, right? And then we can have the booking status. Sorry, we can have the booking status here. We can use this, utilize this space, and then we can have the room details, right? Like try to achieve that, like grouping stuff. So what is this is? So there is an law called Miller's law. So which means like there is a debate on like whether Miller's law is correct or not. But for like beginners like you, I think it's good practice to follow. So which means like at a given time, only 7 plus or minus 2 elements stuff is can be remembered by in the by a human. So in here, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, around 10, right? 6, 9, 10, like 11 elements here, which like violate that rule. So how to achieve that rule by showing this 11 stuff? It's like grouping them together. Then the user will see the chunks, right? There's a customer information chunk. If the user do not want that chunk, they will ignore that chunk from their mind and then will go directly into the other room section, right? Always in your interfaces, when you're showing this long list of information, try to group them. Grouping is another good practice to achieve that simplicity in your system. Okay. I think you guys can like incorporate that design aspect in the system as well. Ashen, is it okay?
Okay.
Cool. Moving on. Okay. Here also, I think this is your design. Here also, I think this name is redundant because you are showing the name at the top. So the name is not needed.
Okay.
So try to, like, as I mentioned earlier, try to remove the unwanted information. See, this information is repeated, right? Also, yeah, you guys have mentioned have that like visual hierarchy thing going on. That's good. And also, I hope so when you are using your smartphone, I hope this is a smartphone app, right?
Yes.
So when you're using a smartphone, do you use gestures to navigate?
Yeah. We usually get to it. Yes.
Yeah. So you guys, do you have an Android or an iPhone? So hi, Ashin.
Hello.
You do you have an Android or an iPhone?
Android.
Android. So in the Android, so with the latest update, we can use gestures to navigate, right? By dragging this button, this bar up, and like you guys can navigate, right?
Yeah.
So what is the effect from that navigation and your design?
I think that buying the below that's not implemented on just design.
Sorry, it's not clear, Ashin.
We do not need to implement that. It just I think this UX UI designer is not attend the session today because he has to attend the funeral. I think that gesture will not use below.
Okay, I'm still not sure what you're trying to say. So I hope what I want to mention is that this having this button here, and basically the users are familiar with the gesture, and there can be some accidental clicks on this add employee button.
Oh, okay.
So that's the point I want to mention. Okay.
Okay.
So that comes under the user research part. User research, it comes under the analysis and planning part that I mentioned earlier, the steps that you should follow. Okay. So you should like first see what are the like accessible areas for the thumb, and like how the user uses this smartphone to see that. So for now, I think you can directly add this as a floating button here as WhatsApp.
Okay.
As a WhatsApp, like add employee button here. So in the WhatsApp, you see, right? There's a button as it's in the right side on the bottom, and it does not affect with the gestures. Okay, I think it's clear. So let's move on to this. Whose project is this? This is the parcel delivery system.
Yeah, it's ours.
So what's your name?
I'm Lishan.
Nishan.
Lishan.
Ishan.
Lishan.
Bishan. Okay. Okay.
Lishan.
Lishan. Sorry. Okay. Okay, Lishan. So do you remember the point I mentioned earlier in the color and contrast section? So I mentioned that some countries may associate red with danger, and since you guys are designing only for Sri Lankan context, it's okay. And you guys have done a good job like this, associating with red and having that as a primary color. I think that's a good design choice. Some of the design, so that's like a debatable thing, but I think this is a good design choice to have that. And also, when talking about this application, what do you feel about the visual hierarchy?
I think it would be better if those buttons are a bit more highlighted.
Why do you think that?
I think the top part is bit more highlighted because of the color we use.
Okay, good. That's good.
Yeah.
So what I think you guys can do is you can use a shade, right? Without directly using red, you can use a like it's a shade means like you can reduce the opacity of this background and add a kind of a small border here, and then it will looks and have like an change the text color to slightly red or use black as a text color. And I think then this like visual distraction you were mentioning will go away. And also, do you think this name is important? Why do you thought to add this name?
We add it because so we had all the functionalities, and so there were a bit space left, so we thought adding name would be okay.
I think this name is not necessary because the main purpose of this interface, what I feel is like to see the deliveries remaining, right?
Yeah.
I think we can remove this name and like get this deliveries remaining component somewhere up here. And we can show the name in the profile section.
Yeah.
Name in the profile section, and then you will have also some spaces for this one as well. I like your approach on these icons, colored icons. Why do you choose that?
There was no special reason. I just found some icons and added. I thought it would be visually better to add those.
Okay, that's also a kind of design decision. Some may agree or some may disagree, but some may prefer the simple icons like I mentioned earlier. There's those simple icons, outline field, without this having a colored icon. But that's your choice. I think it's okay. It's okay to have these icons. And I think the main important thing is you need to remove this one and also try to reduce the opacity of this. And also here the delivery is remaining. I think we can reduce the font weight, which will pop the registered deliveries remaining. So this is for the day, right? This information deliveries remaining. Is it for a day? Is it for a week?
Yeah, for a day.
For a day. I think that the information maybe have like an icon. Maybe have an eye icon. You have seen that, right?
Yeah.
Eye icon, and then if the user like long press on it, like it will show like what is the date, what the delivery is remaining, or you can have added like a small text underneath this delivery is remaining for the day. And then also you can use that intuitive thing that I mentioned earlier. So let's think if the shift is over, if the user shift is over at 4 or 5, and even when it's even in the 3 o'clock, users have 27 parcel to deliver, then we can add that in a red color.
Yeah.
We we can add that in red color, mention that you have 27 parcel to deliver and you only have 2 hours. And you can like associate those color associations to mention to like convey information as well.
Yeah, should be.
Okay. Other than that, this interface looks nice. And also what I mentioned earlier. So here you have added 2 buttons, right? Calculate and end. I'm not sure what this does. Or yeah.
Yeah, it will calculate the total price when you mention the weight and that.
Okay. What end means then?
So they can the receptionist can add more mails by clicking the plus icon. When finishes, we can.
Okay. So then see. So what I felt initially was like this end and this calculate have like a same visual weight because they are both field. So remember what I mentioned, you can use a like outline button to display this.
Yeah.
A button displays also. So this is a navigation, right? These are navigation information, right?
Yeah, that's the navigation.
So do you see an issue here? Remember the YouTube interface that I showed?
Yeah, the 2 sections are not well separated.
Yeah, the sections are not well separated. You can add it's like you can like change the this main sections and you can like add a gray color, small gray color, and like you can use others to pop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Another thing I want to mention before going into the question slide. So most of your design, some of the designs, not most, some of the designs are using like real persons. Like even here, you guys are using Virat Kohli. So it's okay for like university projects, but when you're going into industry or doing a presentation on these things, like try to avoid using real persons or real users names and stuff. Always use kind of a Jane Doe or like a John Doe, like kind of like an this anime like a imagined name, and or do not try to use like this copyright images. There's a great site called Unsplash and Pixabay. You can get like copyright free images. Try to use those images. So that's like another copyright and those things that you guys should consider. Try to like practice that in in your university projects as well. Then it will become natural when it comes to the industry. So that's another thing, like that's an overall point that I want to mention. So do you guys have any other questions? So this is like actually the end. I think we are like 5 minutes over. So do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, like our team also sent the UI.
Yeah. The forms, right?
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, this one. So this one also, I think I forgot to do that. So here, what I feel like is that why do you go back here?
Like there is no way to navigate back to the project page.
Okay,
so
that's good. Good.
uh,
Why do you thought to add that in the right top side?
Like most of the important parts are on the left. Going back seems like a less important task once a user comes to this page. But
okay.
Yeah.
But what were you going to say?
On second thought, I feel like the user might find it hard to go back, hard to find that option to go back.
Why do you feel that?
Because it's out of reach. I mean, not out of reach, but it's like it's in the right compared to the other stuff like right intent.
That's called the Fitts law. Fitts law is like the difficulty of the action is measured based on the element size and the distance to that element. Okay, so that's what we were going to mention. Those are good points, but I feel like we can add the button here before the form name
All right, makes sense.
as an
Because,
icon. As an icon. Why do you think it makes sense?
Like if we add an icon, like it's simple and also it the intuition is that we can go back to the same project that we came from.
Yeah.
And also it's like more visible than that one on the right.
I'm not. Yeah. And also the familiarity. So almost all of the sites going back is at the top left corner. Right? Is it that's correct, right?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that last
So,
part.
so most of all in most sites going back is on the top left corner, right? Even in a Facebook, going back in a Facebook, when you go into Facebook post, going back is in the top left corner, right?
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, do not try to break those norms. Just design how you would like to navigate this interface. And also what other things you can do is without having this back button, you can have a breadcrumb. Breadcrumb is like a path. Can home the projects home/projects/project name here. Then the user can easily click on one of those two icons and go directly to that without having to go back, right? I think did you get what I was saying?
Yeah.
So those are some design things that you can do. And also see what I mentioned earlier. So this copy and save changes buttons are all have same visual weight. You should not use, actually you should not try to minimize the having these primary action buttons to one or two to an interface. So here you have 3, right? And it distracts the user to see what is the main action. For an example, you can have the copy link icon here as an icon directly. You can incorporate that into here. You have seen that kind of interface, right?
Yeah, the clipboard.
Yeah. And also you can remove this as a text and add a user icon, a person icon, and add a plus icon, and you can create an icon button like that. Cool.
Yeah.
Also using these hint text, I really like them. And also try to increase the white spaces, because there's lot of spaces here, right? You can utilize that. And why do you think to go into this column approach?
I thought it was easy for the user to see the big picture, sort of it.
Okay.
Otherwise, they have to navigate 2 pages to see the left. If we divide the left side content to one page and the right side content to another page.
What I feel is doing that will be, I think it's your choice. Some of the thing is you can have this all in a same left align thing and use let the user scroll. Scrolling is not bad. Okay. In a user experience point of scrolling is not bad because the users are used to scrolling. So scrolling is not a bad thing. And other efforts you can take is to group them and see. I think you did that. Participants, you have grouped them. So participant list is it add this participant here, right? When you add an email, you add this participant here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then I feel this should not be a main text. This should be something, these two should be preserved together. Right? I think like when this designing, it disconnects the feeling that this text field is related to this one. You get what I was saying, right?
Yeah.
So try to do that one. So you can also increase the white spaces here. See public, this like close together. You can increase the white spaces. Also, if you guys have time, try to like do other designer like can group those things and only show the groups, only so that I can have like steppers to go to navigate to add that kind of design as well. So overall, I think this is a good design. So yeah, I think, yeah. So do you have any other questions, Pawan? No. Lucas, do you have any other questions? No. Okay. So yeah, so this is actually the end of the presentation. Do you guys have any other questions? Or should we like, if we are over the time limit?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to talk about the major updates in UI design and adaptability. When it comes to, say, before that, the navigation bar of WhatsApp is in the upside. Now it is in the downside. So, how the decisions are made when they are deciding for major UI UX updates in the software or website?
Okay, cool. That's a good question. So when you look at this, so you will see the bottom navigation in a smartphone, right? So in a smartphone, what is you are using your thumb to access, right? Thumb to scroll and navigate and all those things. What is the area that your thumb can access? It's kind of like this, right? If your right hand, it's kind of like this area, right? If you like go to achieve, like you can like scratch and like do this part. Then having this in an app, having a navigation here, it's not easily accessible, right? For the user.
Yeah.
Then the researchers have found out that it's good to have the navigation here, and they have done that. So the main thing that design is evolving on based on user research and the data that they are getting. The main thing the design changes are mainly happening based on the research, and also you can take some. There's like time to time it will come. There will come trends as well. So currently there's like a trend on like these buttons, like there's glowing buttons, and also there's what 3D icon is a trend now. So those are trends that you can integrate to your designs. So all the trends can be found in these inspiration sites, this Dribble, Behance. So I also had some few other sites on the resources file. Yeah, so main thing is the research. So when you're comparing this navigation thing, in a website, it's okay to have it on a top because that's where the user is more familiar with. But in an application, even though user is more familiar with the top navigation, it's not easily accessible for the user. Then the app developers, app designers have break that norm and have added the bottom navigation for the ease of accessible for the user. So that's the main thing. The user research is the main thing that's changed the design and the trends. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, and when Twitter changed into X, there are so many. Totally, the UX is changed, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you think any reasons
The
why
main
they changed?
main thing I feel like is that X. I think Elon Musk is trying to plan X as a super app, right? Try to do it should have everything. I think but I think they are bringing small chunks of their roadmap into the design to make the design system, current design, more familiar with the user. So another thing you need to mention, you need to remember is that when designing, when developing a product, when managing a product, it's not good to change the design in an instant. Like in a Big Bang, you should not use Big Bang theory to change the designs. You should gradually change the design to make the user familiar with those aspects. I think that's what X is doing right now. I think they have like a kind of a ultimate goal to make the X as a super app, and to achieve that, they should make some design changes to the app. I think they are gradually bringing those design changes to make the designs more familiar with the user, and the user will not feel like disconnected with the super app. So that's another thing. Is it okay? Is it clear?
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, I think it's over the time limit now. So if you guys have any other questions, you can ask them. You can send the questions to your mentors, and I think they will get back to me. And if not, you can directly email me, or you can find me on the LinkedIn as well. So try to connect with me in those platforms, and if you have any questions, try to ask questions on those platforms as well. So thank you everyone for participating. I know I took like 20 minutes more than the allocated time. So I really enjoyed doing this. So I know there was like hiccups in the like technical stuff, and so sorry for the mistakes that I did. And there can be some if the information is not correct, or if you found out some the data or the stuff that I showed are not correct, also try to email me and I will correct them in the future slides as well. So yeah, thank you everyone for participating. I think is there a rep? I think, can we close the session?
Okay, yeah, actually, thank you very much for the session. We actually learned a lot of things from you. So
yes, I think if that's the thing. So have a great weekend, guys, and hope to see you guys later. Okay, bye.